Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Knights, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 19 of Stepping Wild. How did it get its essence back in there? A voice screamed as Tibs caught his breath. He was on his knees, his leathers ripped apart, but he wasn't hurt. He didn't understand how that was, since the damage had been done before the audience. The boon, then, it was what she'd meant by it. He wanted to go over the rest, but he had the dungeon to deal with. How should I know? The other Merkah replied. There was fear in their voice. Tibs stood. How about we try this again? The remnant of shattered trees littered the ground around him as if he'd unleashed a torrent of blades. But the reserve in his bracers were full, and his vast reserve was still life. Hi, I'm... Kill it! Merkah... What the hell? How did I not catch these constant mistakes? Merkah said. Tibs stepped aside the the tree that erupted out of the foliage, pointed tips far too sharp, with a sigh. He wasn't fast enough to entirely avoid it, and it ripped his arm open, sending pain lancing up. Shoved the questions that brought aside. That's going to be a comma right here, as more trees tried to impale him. Stop that, he ordered, to no effect. He dodged what he could, but any that connected hurt far more than they had any right to. That's enough, he snarled, and the bubble of raw fire essence consumed the attacking trees as well as those that were part of the walls. The top of those toppled down, and he incinerated them before they could hurt him, or risk causing damage to the facing wall. Now, he let out a breath. How about we do this without trying to kill me? Hi, I'm Tibs. What's your name? What are you? Merkah whispered. It has another element now. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. They let out a strangled cry. No, sorry, yes, I do. They let out a strangled cry. Once more. Hi, I'm Tibs. I heard you call your helper Merkah, so what is your name? Don't tell it. I don't think it's going to give me a choice, the dungeon replied in a whisper. Tibs sighed. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I'm just like to have something other than dungeon to call you by. The silence stretched. Furman, it finally said. All right, Furman. To start with, if you don't want me to hear and you and Merkah talk, you just have to move away from me. I don't know how far, but I figured the second floor should be enough. Like we're going to trust anything you say, Merkah said hatefully. If you don't believe me, that's up to you. Second, I'm here. What second floor? Furman asked. Don't talk to it. Then you tell me what it's talking about. Tibs sensed under them. Okay, again. Ta 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 ta. Tibs sensed under them and confirmed what he'd sensed before. There isn't anything under us. Don't answer it, Merkah warned. Okay, Merkah, I'd really appreciate it if you stop referring to me as an it. I'm a man. You should be using he. The helper snorted. He? Furman said, as if he wasn't familiar with the word. Okay, here yeah, my co-scriptor pointed something out that I don't know exactly how to handle it here. Yes, if you or Mirka prefer being referred to as he or she, just tell me. What do they mean? Mirka asked, the vehemence replaced by what sounded like genuine curiosity. E is for man, Tibs said. She is for women. What are those? This time Mirka's puzzlement sounded profound. Weren't you thought about people before you came to help Furman? Furman? How do you know about that? They asked fearfully. Okay, Genny explained some of it back when I was a runner in Craggle Rock. She never went into details, but she talked about being taught the things she'd need to know to help Stowe. She mentioned often how a lot of what I do it wasn't covered. And how did that Ganny know any of that? Murgaugh asked defiantly, but Tib suspected they used that to cover their fear. She's like you. She helps Stowe with what it means to be a dungeon. He smiled. He made her life difficult at the start with how he didn't want to bother with the rules. Chuckle escaped him. I didn't help. How can Mirka? Furman said with the firmness of tone barely covering the discomfort. I'd rather we stick to more important things like why he is here and how he is alive. Each time it felt like using the pronoun took effort. I'm still alive, Tibbs answered, because I had an audience with wood. He decided to stick with how people referred to the element. It would avoid confusion when dealing with other people. Please tell me you know what it's talking about, Furman said in annoyance. Tibbs decided to let the slip pass. Wood is the element, they replied. The audience thing, Furman snapped. I understand you didn't tell me everything, that a lot of it is for when I'm ready, but they sighed. He brought that up. I don't know what that is, Mirka said. They didn't tell you why dungeons exist? Tibbs had trouble believing they wouldn't have been taught something so integral to what a dungeon was, which might means if you don't want to talk about that with an outsider, I understand. They let out a strangled laugh. I wasn't told people understood us, so it isn't like I was told what I couldn't share with them. Then, if it's because you aren't comfortable with me you terrify me. I'm sorry. It isn't what I want, they snorted. Mirka, Furman said, can you tell him? Why are you going along with what it wants? What it wants? How about because he hasn't killed us? Whatever he is, he's clearly strong enough to do that, and I killed him. Some of the others were cursing and promising that for just nearly crushing them with a tree, or them nearly falling into a pit. It's just he, Mirka. It. I'm not playing whatever game it's playing. It's probably not even a person. They aren't like that. How about this? Tibbs asked. You tell me what happened to the man who came here yesterday, close to when I arrived. Knowing there was a dungeon, it made sense that this was how he and the others had disappeared. If you haven't observed their body, I'd like to have it so I can return it to his woman. Then I'll leave. He'd give them a time to settle down. A few days should be enough. Hopefully, they could have a more productive conversation then. There isn't. I haven't absorbed it. Blah. I haven't absorbed it, Furman said over Mirka's denial, because it isn't dead yet. Wait, actually, maybe I can cover that. Yeah, they're here. He's alive. He hadn't expected that. Even Omega runners who knew what to expect of a dungeon didn't always survive the first room. He sensed around him, but even knowing there should be life somewhere, the dungeon's stronger essence overshadowed the man's faint one. Okay, this is where it's going to change. Should I be using he for it too? Furman asked. And Yeah, I'll go with that. It's still not as precise. You can use it for anyone else, Tibbs replied. They can't hear you, so they won't mind. They won't care. I mind because it is used to refer to object, and there's an entire class of people in cities who delight in making me and others like me feel like we're nothing more than that to them. How is he still alive? He asked, bringing the conversation to what mattered. I'd have expected him to die in the first trap you set, or the first of your creatures he encountered. It ran past the woodling when it attacked and into the room. The trap cut it, but it stopped the essence from flowing out with what it was wearing. It huddled into a corner and hasn't moved. It will run out of essence at some point. The woodling didn't go in there to fight him? He pulled his essence in. The first room should be near, and he might have enough precision to tell the man apart from Furman. That's a trap room, not a fighting room, and I'll absorb it once it's out of essence. Then I want him. If there was a chance he'd sense it, he'd have managed it. Furman's essence overpowered the man completely. Don't, Mirka started. No, Furman stated. If it means you kill me, then I can't. If it means you kill me, I can't stop you. But he entered me, and he only leaves if he passes my tests. There are rules. You ask Mirka why I exist, so I was going to let them answer. But I'm here. You know what? I don't like I want, okay. Pronouns aren't a thing for dungeons, so I want to avoid any use. So you ask why I exist. So I was going to let Mirka answer. But I'm here. And I was going to let Mirka answer. But I'm here to test whatever crosses my threshold. Those who pass grow, leave, and can return to test themselves again. Those who fail become part of me, and I grow from absorbing them. Tibbs nodded. What do the rules say about those who work in teams? That's how it should happen, Mirka answered reluctantly when the silence stretched, but hurried to add that we aren't breaking rules if they show up on their own. Then I want to be on his team. You can't do that, Mirka replied. Furman, you're the dungeon. It's your decision. Don't you dare break the rules, Mirka warned. Which rule is this breaking? They asked. You never mentioned one about a team having to enter at the same time. That's because they always just come one at a time. Mirka replied, sounding to Tibbs' ear petulant. Then what's the rule? Tibbs couldn't make out the grumbled reply. Speak up, Mirka. You know I hate it when you do that. If you don't want to talk to me, just don't say anything. There isn't one. Happy? It knows the rules. Good for it. All right, Furman said. You can be on its team, but it doesn't change any things. It still need to leave on its own. But if I'm on its team, I can go in and help him leave. I just have to make it to him. Alive. With all that essence? Mirka demanded. What can Furman do that you can't burn down? That's a good point, he replied. You're planning something, they said in a suspicious tone. He smiled. I'm a thief. We're always planning something. How about this? I don't use essence except to make a sword and a shield and thieves' tool. I won't use etching as defense or attack unless he looked at his no longer injured body. Only an Omega runner wouldn't be able to heal himself. No essence work beyond what I mentioned. I'd have to be careful, but this was a first floor, and unless Furman could tell he did it, he had his sense to help him. What are thieves' tools? Furman asked. You don't know? I don't know what thieves are either. How about rogues? Mirka said those are the ones who focus on the traps and being sneaky. Tibbs chuckled. Thieves are what rogues who don't work for the Adventurers Guild are called. What's the Adventurers Guild? Tibbs closed his mouth on the reply in surprise at what the question implied. How do you not know about the guild? How does Mirka know about rogues then? The guild is who named the runner classes. He made a variety of picks, instead of taking those hidden in his bracer, and placed them on the ground. Then he added a knife. He didn't want to limit himself to too narrow a selection. Mercosai broke the silence. I wasn't thought they were where the names come from. Just them and what they mean. Fighters throw themselves at the creatures. Sorcerers yield essence of one element. Archers use a bow and arrow from the back. Rogues deal with traps and are sneaky. And clerics try to keep everyone alive. Those are the tools thieves use. And they're the only ones you'll use? I'd like to be able to make them as needed. I didn't bring a leather roll to hold them and to remake my sword and shield if needed. It's easier for me to return everything to essence when I don't need them. You can't be considering going along with this, Mirko said. You know it's going to cheat. I'm not going to cheat, Tibs replied. I'm going to be sneaky. I'm agreeing to this, Firmus said, smile audible, because I'm tired of them not making it far. The furthest one made it is the third room, and that was before I put much in any of them. I want to test someone properly, and I'm fine with him being sneaky. I planned for that. Before Tibs could wonder what they meant by that, the essence shifted around them. By the time he pushed his sense further to get a sense of what Firmin had done, it was over, but Tibs could tell what had happened. Did you change the layout of the floor? He asked before thinking better of it. Did you think all you'd have to do was reach that first room and leave? I want to see what someone who knows what they're doing can do. You want your teammate? You're going to have to find them at the end of the floor. And that concludes Chapter 19 of Stepping Wild. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.